Hi everyone, welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm Naya and this is Stephen.
Hi everyone, love is in the air as you've joined us on this special Valentine's Day edition where we're going to be cooking a lovely, tender, rich beef bourguignon with creamy Dauphinoise potatoes and some steamed Cavolo Nero. That sounds nice.
I can't wait, personally. Okay, cool. So we're going to be using the Cook Expert to make this dish. And like we said, it's a little bit of a special one for a date night or just treat yourself. Just enjoy it, get into the flow of things. I love doing things like this, cooking, but allowing myself to just walk away, do things as it cooks itself. So this is the thermal bowl, but we're going to actually start by using the food processor. So if I just move this off for a second. And we're going to chop our carrots and onions that we're going to put into our beef bourguignon. So you can 100% skip this step if you don't have time or you don't want it to be so precise. But what is lovely about this is it does cut your vegetables really nice and precisely. So I'm using the 4mm slicing disc, but you do get a 2mm slicing disc if you do want them to be thinner. But the reason why I'm choosing this one is because we're going to be cooking this beef bourguignon for a good 3 hours, so you don't want your carrots to be all mushy. So let's keep them really nice and tender and thick. So
we're starting off adding the vegetables into the main bowl and then cooking it for a long period of time. But if you wanted to, there is an option of adding them maybe later on towards, say halfway through or with an hour left, if you wanted those vegetables a bit fresher and with a bit more bite
to them, yeah.
So you could do it that way around.
Absolutely up to you. This is just a base recipe, so you can choose how you like to have your own stews and beef bourguignon. So I've just peeled and washed and topped and tailed these carrots. So I'm just going to put them into the feed tube. We will talk more about the food processor when Stephen shows us doing the Dauphinoise potatoes.
I'll cover that bit, yeah.
So for now, we're going to put the carrots in, and we can use our pusher just to make sure they all go down. So on our screen here, you can see food processor comes up straight away. So I'm just going to press OK, and then I'm going to press auto.
Nice and quick.
Stop. Really nice and quick, and all really precise. So if I just show you them, you might be able to see in the bowl. You've got some nice discs there, all at a really nice thickness. So I'm just going to keep the same bowl in there, just for ease. We're going to put our onions through too, on the same one, because I still want them to be a little bit chunky so we can get a bite to them. So I've just cut my onion in half, peeled it and cut it in half. So there's an XL feed tube here, so I'm just going to put the onions in there, just to make sure we get a nice slice on them. You can put them in whichever way you want to.
So you can get it running along the grain to get those nice strips, yeah?
Exactly. God, that must have been 3 seconds.
Saves it doing with a knife, doesn't it?
And if you're anything like me, I'm really clumsy, so I don't like it. Sometimes with a knife, I'm not to be trusted.
Cuts, yeah.
So you can see in here that the slices of onions come out really, really even. So I'm just going to grab our beef over here. So this is a nice cut of beef where it's got some nice marbling through it.
What kind of cuts would you recommend then, Naya? Is there any particular type that you would go for?
For this specific stew, I love a feather cut of steak.
Feather cut?
Yeah.
I've not heard of that one.
So you can get it in your just normal supermarkets.
Okay, yeah.
But also if you go to your butchers, they'll advise you on what's really good to put in a stew like this. But yeah, personally, feather for me.
I've heard that for doing casseroles, chuck is a popular one. Yeah. And a well-known French chef, TV chef, says that chuck is good, but another cut is better, basically. I think,
you might be thinking of beef cheek.
Cheek, yes.
Yeah,
cheek is better.
Cheek is classically really nice to be cooked over long periods of time, but because we're cooking this for 3 hours, if you wanted to use cheeks, they're a little bit more luxurious. and they do take slightly longer. So again, really up to you.
Yeah.
So to this, I've just added some red wine, half a bottle, don't be alarmed. It will reduce right down because the 3 hours of cooking, it's going to have a lot of time to burn off any alcohol. So I'm also, to this marinade, I'm also going to be adding some thyme, some rosemary, and some bay leaves. That just really flavours your meat and your veg, and the wine is going to create a nice tender, soft beef so that when you bite into it, it melts away, which is personally how I like it. So, so we also have these little
what are those?
tea bag looking things.
Bags?
So this is a Bouquet Garni. So traditionally, that would be all of these herbs tied up with a piece of string. But if you don't have sort of the fresh herbs, or you just want this for ease, you can get these in the supermarket, just with all your spices and things, and they come like in a little jar, and a little tea bag like this, and you can put 1 or 2, 3 if you want to, add a bit more flavour.
I've never seen those.
But yeah,
never seen those.
so
yeah, quite neat.
They've got a lovely smell to them.
Oh yeah, I can confirm it's not tea.
I'm not just lying to you. Okay, so that is our marinade all done. So I would now typically put this in the fridge and leave it to marinate overnight, just to get all of those flavours.
So what does the wine do? Does it tenderize? Does it add flavour or?
So that tenderises our meat, and it allows it to sort of fall apart at the end of it. The acid in the wine really breaks down sort of anything in the meat that it becomes tough. So yeah, so let's move on to the cooking stage, because this is meat. This is a meat that I've already been marinating overnight. So I'll show you in a second how it's taken on the colour of that red wine. So let's take this.
Yeah, you can already see it's a nice dark colour.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this food processor off, and we're going to put the metal bowl onto the base. It just clicks in like that. And we're going to start the cooking off with some bacon lardons and some garlic. Lovely. So I'm keeping this garlic quite big because it's going to be cooking for such a long time. It's going to melt down, melt into the sauce, and so we don't really need to chop it up. If you did want to chop it up a little bit more, you could do. But like I said, it melts away, melts into the gravy. So that's the bacon lardons and the garlic going straight into the bowl. And we don't need to, at this point, add any oil or butter. I'm not going to be adding any oil or butter.
Natural fat from the lardons.
Because we've got the fat from the lardons. I'm going to be removing the cap so that we can let out any excess steam that we've got going
just develop
in there.
The colour and the flavour.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Just like you would do in a saucepan. So I'm going to come onto the screen. I'm going to select expert mode, and I'm going to put it on for 3 minutes. And that's just going to give it a little bit of time to brown the garlic and bacon. So I'm going to put it up to 100 degrees. And you'll see that the heat really starts coming from the induction hob really, really quickly. So let's press auto. So that's going.
So what temperature have we got that at?
So that's at 100 degrees Celsius.
Okay, yeah.
Because we want it a little bit higher just to get that brownness. But when we do sort of the cooking of the beef, for the cooking of the beef, we're gonna do a stir fry first. We're gonna use a stir fry program. And that gets really high in heat, so it gets up to 160 degrees. And that's just really gonna help us brown our meat. So here I've got a plate of corn flour, and I'm going to coat my bits of feather in this corn flour. I hope you can see that, but Stephen can vouch for me.
I can confirm
that the colour
nice and dark purple.
Really, really nice dark purple. I can hear this now. This has already started.
To sizzle in straight away, yeah.
Really, and you really can't go wrong with bacon.
Corn flour? Can you use normal flour? Is there any particular reason you go for corn flour, or? I
like to use corn flour because it helps with the sear on the meat, and if you do get that really nice sear and brown tinge to the meat, you hold in all of that moisture from the fat. And so you can use normal plain flour if you want to. I'd stay away from anything like self-raising flour because we're not baking. So plain flour is great, but corn flour is the best.
And you could also potentially, if you don't, because we're thickening the sauce with flour here, but you could also, if you wanted to, reduce down the wine, say, by half beforehand, because it keeps the moisture inside the bowl, almost braises the meat. You would have a much thicker sauce. It doesn't need that much liquid.
Yes.
So if you didn't want to thicken your sauce with flour, you could also just reduce down your wine by half.
Yeah.
It just saves at the end having to take out the meat and then reduce the sauce afterwards. So if you want a nice sort of thick sauce.
Yeah. So I've just washed my hands just quickly because hygiene first. So we're gonna put this meat into our bacon and garlic, put it on that stir fry that we were talking about. What have you done any other sort of recipes with the stir fry?
Stir fry mode. So as well as obviously adding flavour by browning, you can also bring ingredients quickly up to temperature. So if you needed to bring a liquid very fast, I would put it on 160. Also browning, as well as meat, browning onions is a great one. So obviously stir frying onions on 2A for 6 minutes, 110 degrees would be if you wanted them nice and sort of clear, if you want to do that for a recipe. But if you wanted to add flavour and want them really brown, then I would do that on 160. Stir fry mode would be ideal for that. Stir fry is an automatic program that stirs it every 30 seconds. So 3 seconds, quick little stir every 30 seconds. Which is obviously the other good thing would be for stir fries as well.
Yeah, yes.
So yeah, you can use stir fry for other things, not just browning meat.
So I've put our corn-floured meat into the bowl. And before we add any liquid, that's what we're saying, we want to stir fry and make it brown. So we're going to come out of the expert mode, move over to cooking. So there's 5 programs in the cooking section. And we're going to be using the stir fry one. So, okay. And that runs for 7 minutes. So we're just going to press okay. And we're going to continue to keep the cap off because we still, again, want any extra steam to be allowed to escape. So now we've got our meat browning. We're going to go over to start doing the Dauphinoise, which is my favourite part, to be honest. So I'm very excited.
Just before we move over to the food processor, you can obviously, if you wanted to do it the other way with the reducing down the sauce, you can actually fry off the meat without coating it in flour as well. Just a little bit of oil, get it hot first and then pop it in. And you can also brown the meat in batches as well. So you could do it one batch and then the other. It's also possible that I've done making a stew before. So.
Yeah, if you want to get them a little bit more brown, then doing it in batches definitely would help that.
So over to the food processor. So this comes with the Cook Expert. It's 3 plastic bowls, Triton bowls. What you get with this, if I just take off the feed tube, you get the 3 bowls. So you get the little mini chopper. You also get the middle bowl, which is perfect for slicing and grating. And then you get the main bowl with the main blade. Comes with all the accessories that you need. That's for larger quantities. So we're just going to start off by processing the potatoes now to make the Dauphinoise. So I need the middle bowl for slicing and grating. I also need the disc support. And we're going to use the 2mm slicing disc because for the ultimate next level Dauphinoise, for me, they have to be thinly sliced.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And the reason being is because a Dauphinoise is baked straight in the oven. So you don't pre-cook it first.
No, there's no parboiling or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other type is obviously, a potato gratin, where you will basically get your potatoes and you cook that for, say, 3 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And they can be a little bit thicker, but for a Dauphinoise, has to be nice and thin, has to be nice and even, which is what you get with a food processor.
Yeah.
And that coats it with all the cream and milk mixture and gets a beautifully even cook to the Dauphinoise. So for me,
I'm smiling because I genuinely can't wait for this.
So middle bowl, then you've got the lid goes on, and then we just pop in the potato. So it's an extra large feed tube that you get with the Magimix. So this allows obviously whole potatoes, you don't have to chop it up first, but also, more importantly, is you can get nice long cuts. So say for example you're doing like a coleslaw.
Coleslaw, yeah.
Quarter of a cabbage,
Straight
that goes
in,
and you can get nice long lengthway cuts, or courgette lengthways, nice for a nice vegetable gratin.
Yeah.
So it offers that size lengthways as well as depth. So pop the lid back on. It already automatically goes onto food processor, so you don't need to do anything, just press the auto, and that very, very quickly slices it. So
Seconds.
I'm going to get the rest of the bowl, so I'm going to do all of those, so just chuck them in. Obviously different sizes, we can maybe fit 2 in there. Yeah, just about fit 2. And then
Super
pop it all
quick.
in.
So this is about 1 kilo of potatoes. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really nice because you get them all really thinly sliced and packed into a tin. Now we're using just a baking tin that we have, and so you can use whatever you have at home, like a loaf tin or anything that's got sort of sides to it, so that it's going to hold in all of those.
Look at that. Don't know whether you can probably see that, but yeah, it's almost
so
like
lovely.
It's almost like a pack of cards.
It is. Pick one. Yeah.
So I'm just going to pop that into a bowl.
So these potatoes that we're using today are Maris Piper potatoes. You could equally use King Edward potatoes. They're a little bit more floury and a little bit more starchy, and that starch helps to sort of bind in your creamy Dauphinoise sauce. So you're going to get sort of a nice chunk of Dauphinoise, like not running all over the plate. So yeah, that's why these ones are really good ones to use.
Could you use a waxy potato?
You could,
like
yeah.
You know, like a sort of a denser. Would you cook that before?
Because we're cutting these really thinly, I think you can use any sort of white potatoes you can get your hands on. I just prefer to use the sort of starchier, floury potatoes, but waxy potatoes are absolutely fine.
So next we're going to grate the cheese. So again, this support goes on. Now we're switching to the 2mm blade. Nice sharp Sabatier stainless steel. So it's got the power of the commercial motor, and then also the very sharp made in France steel, and that's what creates those nice level cuts. So we're now going to do the cheese. So we're going to do some Gruyere cheese.
Gruyere, yeah.
And then we're going to do some Parmesan for the top.
For the top, just to get a nice crisp saltiness on the top.
So the middle bowl is really handy because it fits the disc in perfectly. So what you're left with, that little piece that's left at the end, that stays on top without shooting into the big bowl. So when you put the next piece in, it goes all the way through. So you're left with less at the end. So there's less waste because it maintains it on the top. And also a top little tip is just to push the pusher up and down a few times just to make that a little bit less, that waste smaller. So I'll show you now.
Caught up into the grater.
So we're going to do the Gruyere first. So into the smaller pusher. So pop that in and then auto that. And then again for the last little bit, just lift up the XL feed tube and just push it a few times. Yeah. And that just creates that little bit of waste that's less. So if I just show you that now, so you'll always get that.
Little bit.
So that's your little piece. Just a lot smaller if you tap it a few times.
But when you're the one cooking, you can just eat that. No one will know.
So I'm just going to grab the spatula and I'm going to pop that into a little bowl. Bear with me a second.
So that was literally seconds, maybe 4 seconds to grate all of that Gruyere. We're going to do the same with the Parmesan, and that's what's going to go on top. And it's going to get really nice and bubbly. I honestly can't stop smiling because it's going to be really lovely.
Plenty of cheese is key.
That is the thing. Cheese is more, to be honest. And the more cheese, the better, I say.
So back in, and then grab my Parmesan, and same with that. Pop it in, and auto. And again for the last little bit, just tap that feed tube a few times, and that's done. So again, a little piece left over. And grate that into.
And then we're all prepped for our Dauphinoise. So we'll just come back to the beef bourguignon over here. I can hear that it's done. It smells super nice in here now. And so we're going to add the rest of our ingredients, and then we can just sort of leave it to simmer away really slowly and increase all of those deep flavours. So these are all of our marinated carrots and onions, and all of the herbs. We're just going to pop them all in. So that's going straight into the bowl. Just use my spatula, wherever it is.
It smells wonderful. It smells nice.
So that's all in there. Then we are going to add some tomato puree. So I love adding tomato puree to things like this because it just deepens the tomato flavour and gives a nice richness. So roughly about 2 teaspoons of that. Then we're going to add 200 millilitres of beef stock. So whatever kind of stock you have at home is fine. So that's going in.
So what I found when making a stew, like I mentioned before, that you only need a minimum amount. I've actually done it with maybe about half a kilo of meat with just 200 millilitres of liquid.
Yes.
So obviously you've added in the wine as well. But for certain stews, you only need to, 500 grams of meat, 200 grams of liquid.
Yeah. So the lid can go back on, and at this point, because we want it to become sort of that rich bourguignon, we want all of that sort of any flavour, we don't want it to escape. So we're going to put our cap back on at this point, and we're going to use the simmering program. So we're going to come out of stir fry and move over to simmering. So that's in the same part as cooking. So we're just going to press OK. And this is going to go up to an hour and a half. So like I said earlier, we will be cooking this for about 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So this is the first hour and a half, and we're going to keep it stirring. So we're going to keep it on that 1A. And then we're going to do it for 95 degrees. So let me just press go on that. And that will just keep going. At this point, you can walk away from it, go for a walk, have a lovely tea break. I don't know. It's an hour and a half. Yeah, you got loads of time. So 1A is that alternate stirring that we were talking about. Uh-huh. So we want to keep it sort of going by itself, but just do that occasional stir to make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. So
it's only stirring every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
On the 1A. Simmering, other things you could use simmering for would be obviously all different types of stews. I do also a nice bolognese using simmering. I don't know about you, but I hate it when the bolognese is in big pieces. I'm always forever trying to chop it up in a pan. For me, that creates the perfect consistency of bolognese, just on 1A.
Well, we're going to use it to do the sauce for our Dauphinoise. So shall we get on with popping everything in?
Yeah, let's do that. So pop the metal bowl on.
So they really easily switch between, and if you've got anything hot in your metal bowl, when you take it off, you're fine to put it on your surface. It's got a little bit of a raised base so that it's not going to burn anything on your surface.
So now, what are we doing? We're adding in the
So this is a really great sauce because we're literally adding everything in one, and we're just going to heat it for 10 minutes. So this is whole milk. So we do 400 millilitres of that. And we add 100 millilitres of single cream.
Yep.
So that just makes it a little bit more decadent. You could use double cream, you could use all cream, no milk, but it's completely up to you.
It's quite a healthy version.
It is.
Because I normally do about half and half for my Dauphinoise.
Yeah.
That's a lot more milk.
I find that this is it goes really nicely with your rich beef bourguignon because you don't want too many rich things on the plate. So this just really pairs perfectly.
So we've got some butter.
Yeah, a little knob of butter
garlic
there.
And some rosemary.
Garlic and rosemary. And we're not going to blitz this up. The rosemary and the garlic is just going to flavour that creamy sauce.
A little bit of nutmeg.
Yeah, pinch of nutmeg. And then just a little bit of salt and pepper.
Season.
And then, yeah, we're going to use the simmering program for 10 minutes. So, the simmering program is up for about half an hour, so it does 30 minutes, but we're just going to reduce the time. And that's what's great about the Cook Expert. You can really tell it what to do. You are the boss in the kitchen. It's just a really, really big helping hand.
So we're going for 1A 95 degrees and for
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Lovely. Start that.
So that's going.
Simmering, I've also done some nice fillings for some empanadas you can also do.
Yes.
Also nice.
Yeah, with a nice turmeric pastry.
Yeah.
Done that, that's really lovely.
A little one from the book I've done is a pulled turkey with peanut butter and soy sauce, again on simmering. So some different things that you can do using that program.
So we're going to switch this out. So once you're we're doing an hour and a half of cooking here, and after the hour and a half, we're just going to put it back onto an hour and a half, but we're going to put it on no stirring, just to make sure that our beef isn't going to get really chopped up. We just put it on no stirring, and it's going to go really nice and tender.
That is a top tip for doing stews. So you should do it about half and half. So the first half with a 1A, and then the second half, as that meat starts to get more tender, with the Cook Expert, you can put it onto no stir, which is fantastic. So you can, or if you're doing like a fish stew, you do your sauce, and then for the last 10, 15 minutes, you poach your fish in there on no stir.
Really nice.
Stew should always be done about half and half, that I found.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm gonna switch this off to one of the beef bourguignons I've done already. So I'm just gonna take this off.
Here's one I made earlier.
Yeah. So you might have noticed that I just picked up that bowl from the sides. Now that's a really good function of the metal bowl is it never gets too hot. So it's not going to burn you. It will get a bit warm to the touch, but it's got a dual-walled bowl, so there's a little bit of air in between so that it will keep things warm for up to 2 hours. So this is one that we've already done. So if I just show you how rich and dark that's gone, brown colour.
Nice.
And you've got a nice amount of gravy to that, which will go really nicely with your Dauphinoise.
Looking forward to trying that.
So what we're going to do on here is put some Cavolo Nero. I've got some Cavolo Nero here. And so this is I've just taken out the stalk, washed it, and now we're going to put it, the steamer basket, into the bowl. And it just slots in like that. There's some divots there and it helps it slot in. And we'll put the lid back on. So the beef bourguignon's been cooking for 3 hours.
And for me, in terms of slow cooking, the Cook Expert is fantastic for that, because what it is, it's a sealed unit. So it creates all that moisture and it keeps all the moisture inside the bowl. What happens is it collects on the lid and it ends up dripping and showering the meat. So you get that lovely tender meat because it's all the moisture is enclosed. But also you can accurately and precisely set the temperature. Yeah. So we've set it to 95 degrees and it's accurate to 1 degree Celsius. And basically all the sort of the connective tissue and the collagen in the meat starts breaking down around about 80 degrees Celsius. So, but if you take it over 100 degrees, then it starts to become really dry and the moisture comes out. Yeah. So setting it to that perfect 95 degrees is going to get a great result, because that slowly breaks down that collagen but doesn't make it dry. So the final thing about the Cook Expert in terms of slow cooking is what you mentioned before, is the double wall. So if you're out and about and you miss it and it beeps to tell you it's done.
I've done that before.
If you're not around, you can then serve it straight away because it keeps it warm for up to 2 hours. Yeah. Nice big bowl, 3.5 litre bowl, so you can do family stews, family-sized stews. So yeah, that's why the Cook Expert is particularly good for slow cooking.
Yeah. So what we're going to be putting this on for another 10 minutes, and that's going to allow our Cavolo Nero to steam on top of our stew. And this is what you do at the end, just before you serve this dish. So the Dauphinoise you can do ahead of time, even the day before, just pop them in the fridge and then cook them an hour before you want to serve at about 170 degrees Celsius, and it'll get a nice bubbly, crisp top to it, which, again, my favourite part. So I'm going to use the simmering mode again, and if I just come out of it and go back in, I'm going to put it down to 10 minutes. So I'm doing this for 10 minutes because I quite like to have a bit of a bite to my Cavolo Nero, but you can do it for, you can do yours for 15 to 20 minutes. 20 minutes is going to get it really nice and soft, if that's what you prefer. But we're going for 10 minutes today. So I'm going to stick with no speed because, again, I don't want that really nice tender meat that we have now to start breaking up. So we just keep it with no speed at 95 degrees is fine. So we'll put that on.
Now, Naya, I have some interesting facts on the Cavolo Nero.
Oh, tell me, go on.
Well, not too interesting, but so obviously the English name is black cabbage.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But do you know it's got those little wrinkles on it?
Yeah.
It's because it's grown in a colder climate.
Okay.
And it's also a little bit sweeter in taste than the normal cabbage. So
Maybe that's why I prefer it.
I think that's why the chefs, that's their sort of a chefy choice, because it's that little bit sweeter. But yeah, packed full of iron, so it's really, really healthy, and also vitamins A to C, so it's really, really nutritious.
And that will stay in there because we're steaming it.
Using the steamer, and I would thoroughly recommend everyone, if they had the option to steam all their veg, because it maintains the flavour, it keeps the colour, the texture, but most importantly, it keeps all those vitamins and nutrients.
Yeah.
If you were to boil it, which you obviously can, you're looking about maybe half the time, maybe 7 to 10 minutes. Well, obviously we're doing it for that time, but yeah, normally sort of 15 to 20 minutes. But it's definitely worth it to make the taste better and more nutritious.
And it holds that green colour that like really lovely contrasts your brown Bourguignon. What's also great is you can just switch the Cavolo Nero out for any vegetables you like. So I sometimes do broccoli. I love tender stem broccoli.
Me too.
Cauliflower, literally anything that you have in your fridge if you want to just sort of have things for your weekday meals, bulk it out a bit with some more vegetables. This is a really, really great way to do that. I've done chicken stew in here before, and I've steamed, so just some like carrots and things that I didn't have in the bottom, steaming that on top. Really, really great.
Well, that's the thing. If you're boiling away on in a different pan, you're using the same bowl anyway. You're cooking the mixture underneath.
Yeah. It's
creating the steam to steam your cabbage, so it's you're waiting for it to cook anyway, the stew.
Yeah.
So you're not really wasting any time by steaming it.
No, exactly.
All in one bowl.
So we've touched on a few things that you get in your box. So you obviously get this metal bowl, thermal bowl, and your lid, seal, cap. This is the base. So we have the black, the red, and the satin. And you also obviously get the food processor attachment that we showed you earlier with all of the slicing and grating discs that come in a really nice storage box, easy to just put away in your cupboard. My favourite part, the most genius part, is the 2 spatulas that you get with the Cook Expert. So this is the spatula that you get with your food processor, and it perfectly goes round your bowl and just picks up anything that's on the side. So if you're doing pesto, hummus, things like that, just really scrape down the side. It's really easy. Very
handy for working bread as well on the countertop. So chopping bread up into pieces, working it around your countertop because it's so thin.
And sturdy at the same time.
Yeah,
so when I've been doing bread before and I've got it a little bit stuck underneath, it's really easy to help you get it under or get some flour underneath it for you. So that is a really, really great part of your Cook Expert. And then, like we had before, the silicone spatula. So I've been using the silicone part of it, but this actually comes off and you get this sort of metal part to it where it fits perfectly inside your metal bowl so that you can scrape down the side, scrape down the bottom, let's just say it's caught, anything that's caught on the bottom a little bit. And for something like this, if you had any sort of brownness from your meat and your bacon, you can scrape it up and make sure you get all of that flavour into your dish, because you don't want to be wasting it.
Do you know what? It actually deglazes quite well. If you just put a little bit of liquid in, all that flavour comes off, because it's obviously stainless steel at the bottom.
Exactly.
We don't have a non-stick, but having that stainless steel gets all that flavour browned on the bottom. A little bit of water deglazes and comes off in the stew.
Yeah, and this will never scratch the bottom of your bowl. So that is a really, really one of my favourite parts.
Sauce is done. The whisk as well comes with the.
Yeah, so you also get the whisk attachment in there, and that fits into your metal bowl, and you get some really nice glossy meringues going through there. So yeah, you've got quite a few things, and remember, you do get the food processor as a part of your Cook Expert. So now Steve's
going to strain it, because obviously we've got the rosemary and the garlic.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to strain that through the sieve. So.
And that's just really nicely flavoured, that creamy mixture, so that I can smell it. Can you smell it? I can smell that rosemary.
The rosemary is
really fragrant.
Got your little
pouring
non-drip pouring spout as well,
which is really handy. So I've been making marmalade recently. Let us know what you've been making recently in your Cook Expert. Anything that you might want to see us do, any videos you want us to create, give us drop a comment at the bottom and give us some ideas and inspiration that you want to see from us. So we're going to start the layering now.
Also, let us know if you've got a Cook Expert as well in the comments, and also if you're going to be considering trying this dish for Valentine's Day or any other day. It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, let us know. Send us a picture. We always like to see your creations. So if you didn't want to do this for Valentine's Day, or you wanted some other inspiration, I know you've made sort of a nice salmon risotto in your Cook Expert.
Yeah, stirs it for you. Lovely creamy consistency. I add the smoked salmon just at the end.
Gotta love a bit of smoked
finish
salmon.
Off with a bit of parsley.
Very nice. Keep it fresh.
So we're using a third.
Yep,
third of the cheese,
and we're going to keep seasoning throughout, so we don't have bland Dauphinoise.
I will grab salt and pepper.
Yep, just a quick little. Yep. So we've got our Gruyere that's going in between the layers of our potatoes. And then, as we said earlier, our Parmesan is what's going to go on the top.
And melt into the layers, that's nice.
Exactly.
Now you can, for a Dauphinoise, sometimes I've layered the potato this way up as well.
Yeah, just fancier.
It creates a lovely, because there's more sort of surface area, you get lovely crispy bits on top. I tried that once, but worked quite nicely.
Good. I always love bits that, like the crispy bits and the crunchy bits that you get from the sides.
Parmesan. Is this all going to fit? No.
Well, if it doesn't, then we've got some more for later. This is just around, like, you always have different sized potatoes, obviously. So whatever you can fit in, and then you can always make another batch in a different baking tin. Put it in the freezer, so you can just sort of layer it up, put it in the freezer, and it will be ready for whenever you want it. You can just take it out and put it in the oven. Maybe increase the time for 20 minutes if you're just cooking it from frozen. So for an hour and 20 minutes, but this will cook for about an hour at 170 degrees Celsius.
You can press it as well overnight in the fridge to get it nice and compact. You know, the sort of the chefs do that. So that's another option. If you wanted to, maybe for Valentine's Day, get a heart cutter. Possibly.
No, Stephen, we're not doing heart.
Work?
No. Well, you can decide if you want to do heart cutting for your potatoes, but I just like normal circles. So that's perfect. So we've got it all nicely laid up. We've got some Parmesan to go on the top.
There we go. Right. So would you pop that in the oven? Would you cover it first, or just straight in the oven?
I always just put it straight in, get as much heat in there as possible, and as I said, you get a nice crisp top, because obviously it's going to be in there at 170 degrees, so not too high.
Not too high, yeah.
So you can afford to sort of not have sort of foil on top because it's not going to burn. So yeah, that's really great. So I'm going to take this over to the oven and we'll put it in.
Yeah, because normally how I do my Dauphinoise is 40 minutes with foil, and then take off the foil, and 20 minutes after that to colour the top. So I
Nice.
like your way is easier, just in lower temperature, don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I really created this recipe to be as easy as possible, and so we can just sort of put everything together and you can go and enjoy your day. Do all the prep and go and enjoy your day. And because Valentine's Day or date night, you want to be spending time with the person that you're with, not in the kitchen cooking, getting a mess in the kitchen, lots of washing up, whereas this is going to do it all in one bowl. And there's a rinse function on here, which is genius. So you can just put some water in there and some fairy liquid, and it will just sort of whiz up for you, and it will clear all the sides. Because
it spins so fast, it just blitzes off all the ingredients.
Yeah.
So you just need to give it a quick swill under the sink.
Exactly that.
By the way, if you did want to as well, make it well in advance. It's possible to do it, say, the day before if you wanted to properly chill on Valentine's Day. If you leave it in the fridge overnight, it kind of reabsorbs the moisture from the meat back into the meat. So that's a top tip. Leave it overnight, it gets even better.
It's even better the next day. And if you want sort of a thicker sauce, it will be thicker. If you leave it overnight and the next day, reheat it, it will be thicker. So let's just have a little look. So we've got our steamed Cavolo Nero on the top there. We're gonna. So the plate's just there. Could you grab the pre-done Dauphinoise potatoes from the oven?
Yeah.
And we'll just show you what they look like after they've been in the oven for about an hour. And like we said, really low temperature to get really into those really thin potatoes. And we'll just show you. So I'll put some Cavolo Nero on the plate. So you can see how it's really retained its colour. So it's got a few juices from the bottom that have come up, but one, that's all flavour, and two...
Look at this. This looks fantastic.
So just get the Cavolo Nero on there.
Now I'm excited.
This is the best part about always cooking, the plating up. No, actually, the best part is the eating.
Of course.
So we'll just take that out. Put that over there.
Just going to pop a little piece on there.
It smells divine. I can smell the garlic. I can smell the rosemary. So if I just show you guys what this looks like. So, as I showed you before, a nice, rich in colour. You can still see the slices of carrots. They've not gone really, really down into the sauce. And let's show you some meat that we've got here. So let me just tilt that.
While Naya's doing that, I think I should pour a glass of wine, I think, is an order.
So we can get that on the plate. And we will hold this up just to show you what it looks like. So you can see those nice tender bits of meat, and you could see the size of the pieces of meat before they went into the bowl and how much they've reduced down. So the size of them have they've just become really tender and soft.
So all the more reason to keep them in nice chunky pieces to begin with.
Exactly.
Because I don't like a stew when it sort of gets lost in there. So you want to keep it nice big pieces, 4 or 5 centimetres?
Yeah, so these were about 4 centimetres in size. And when you go to your butchers, if you just ask them to cut it up for you, they will. So let's just bring that up to show you. Hope you guys can see. So you can see the nice rich dark beef that we've got there. The Dauphinoise potatoes, nice crisped top, and some Cavolo Nero steamed on top of your Bourguignon. And you do have half a bottle of red wine, so don't forget about that.
Should we dig in? I think we should.
That's for you. So let me try a bit of this beef.
I'm going to go for the Dauphinoise.
Do you see how easily that came away from each other? That beef.
Let's give that a go. If I can get that on the fork. Maybe a little spoon.
That really is, it really does just melt away. It's so, so tender.
It's hot. Hot but lovely. Very nice. Naya, that is, I've done a few Dauphinoise, but that genuinely, that's better. I like it.
Thank you.
And it's healthier with the milk. I'm going to give that one a go.
Yeah.
To sort of balance off the richness of the meat.
Yeah, exactly that.
Really nice, yeah.
So we hope that you enjoy your date night or Valentine's Day or just treating yourself. Join the Facebook page. We have a community of people who have a cook expert or people who just want to know more about it. So if you're one of those people, join along, look for inspiration, show us what you've been making. We love to see it and we love to share it on our social media. So please join us there. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, so
thank you so much for joining us. So yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, bye.
Cheers everyone. Bye.